clock is counting down for 5 minutes, I am going to get some coffee. Some issues with the chat box lately. Apparently, all the chat box on all of these seem to be linked. So, any changes I make on one theme seems to change things everywhere, which is really annoying. Streamlabs, you need to change that shit. Anyway, let's okay, it went through, so that's good. The other thing I found, not on this stream, but when I did my Deadlock live stream, like almost every single page in my theme, like all the scenes, had the music playing the whole time, and it was only supposed to be playing on the startup screen and the Be Back Soon screen. It doesn't look like it's doing that anymore. Hello, everyone. This is Venus Brown. I am here to read the Testaments. This will be chapter 1 and 2 today. I just finished Handmaid's Tale last week. I was supposed to start this on Sunday, but Sunday I was camping, so I did an intro yesterday with just the epilogue, a little bit of information about the epilogue that I found online, and then the acknowledgments. Now I'm going to read chapters 1 and 2. And what was I talking about before I switched to this? Oh yeah, I was thinking about turning the volume down on the clock because I know when I listened to one of my listened to one of my live streams the other day, that clock sound, once it goes off, the alarm, it is so loud. It is so loud. So, yeah, I am thinking about turning that thing down. I don't know how far down, but at least a little bit. Alright. I shouldn't have to wear any earbuds or anything, but I am thinking about wearing earbuds when I do my deadlock live stream, because that I play clips on it every now and then, and I don't want the sound from my computer to be picked up by my mic, so I think that will be better. With this, because I am reading and I don't have any audio playing other than myself, there's no real concern, well, I mean, except for the clock and the chat messages, alert box if that ever comes up, and the music that I play on the start screen and be right back screen. But for the most part, it's just me. There's no sound coming from my computer, so there should be no worry about feedback or one sound over doing it for another, so I think it will be all right. Now, oh, the text. See, so I changed the text to white last time. Black wasn't working because I had a black background last time. Charcoal gray wasn't working because it was too close to the black background. And plus the gray, well, no, the gray seemed to work okay on here, but yeah, it didn't work okay on the deadlock theme. So, I mean, what other color? Maybe let's try red. Let's try red. Come on. Change the white to red. Hold on. It doesn't have the boxes, but that's okay. Let's put it up here. That should go all right. Now I'll put one more chat message. How's this? There we go. Okay, it shows up good on here. I'm assuming it'll show up good on the other one. The other one has it's like a really dark blue or black with kind of bluish gray clouds. I think that's what it is on a lot of the chat backgrounds. This one is a creamy color, or well, it's technically the color of one of the pages, but I have other chat boxes in here too. So one of them, like my intermission, the chat box is black. So, all right, I'll just go to the live screen for now. So yeah, we're gonna read chapters 1 and 2. Usually when I do these readings, before I start the live stream, I actually read through whatever chapters that I'm going to read, make sure that I can get them done in a timely manner because I do have a schedule outside of this that I have to tend to. So I have to be able to get up and take care of other things that I need to do on time. Something was ringing or some kind of alarm was going off, I think. All right. But chapters 1 and 2, this starts off with a little bit about Aunt Lydia. Same Aunt Lydia from Handmaid's Tale. And when they start the TV series, The Testaments, it's going to be the same Aunt Lydia. Just a little older, but same Aunt Lydia. So, Aunt Lydia that we've known to grow and hate, not grow and love. Granted, she has done some things towards the end of the Handmaid's Tale series that have given her a little bit of a redemption, but still, she definitely has some massive flaws that she needs to work on. A lot. And I think you're going to see in this book that she has some flaws in here also, even when she is narrating for herself. So if you have read The Handmaid's Tale or watched The Handmaid's Tale, there is a narrative going on in each of those of June or of Fred, the handmaid that is in the book and on the series. Her narration kind of goes on in her head, and they play that on the TV series as well. On this, we're going to have Aunt Lydia with narration going on in her head, her inner thoughts. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, let's go ahead to the reading screen. And I started it out with this image of her looking at this statue. So, and she's going to be talking about it in this chapter. So I figured we'd start off with this. This is a major part of this chapter from what I remember. Like I said, I didn't read the whole thing, or at least I think I said that. I didn't read the whole thing this time. Usually I will read everything that I am going to read for the live stream beforehand. So it'll be a little more fresh, so I'll remember some of it and hopefully will not do too terribly reading it. I still mess up while reading, but hopefully that helps me not quite mess up as bad. And but this time I did not read the chapters ahead of time. I did start on this chapter, but I have read the whole book. It was just a very, very, very long time ago. I think back when Testaments was pretty newly out. So anyway, let's go ahead, take this image off of here, which I think is this one. All right. And I don't know if you can read that. On here, the way I'm looking at it, it looks very small. It looks very tiny, but it says the Ardua Hall holograph, which I believe is that statue. Let me increase the size of this. And then that way I should be able to see chats when they come in. And I can see what is on my screen a little bit better. But let's go ahead and get on with the chapter. Only dead people are allowed to have statues, but I have been given one while still alive. Already I am petrified. So petrified. Petrified like wood. She's petrified as a statue. Petrified like scared, terrified. Petrified. Already I am petrified. This statue was a small token of appreciation for my many contributions, said the citation, which was read out by Aunt Vidalia. Vidala. I always thought it was Vidalia. That says Vidala. I might have a hard time remembering to change to Vidala, since I always just said Vidalia. Unless it's a misspelling, it's possible. She'd been assigned to the tasks by our superiors and was far from appreciative. I thanked her with as much modesty as I could summon, then pulled the rope that released the cloth drape shrouding me. It billowed to the ground, and there I stood. We don't do cheering here at Ardua Hall, but there was some discreet clapping. I inclined my head in a nod. My statue is larger than life, as statues tend to be, and shows me as a younger, slimmer, and in better shape than I've been for some time. I am standing straight, shoulders back, my lips curved into a firm but benevolent smile. My eyes are fixed on some cosmic point of reference, understood to represent my idealism, my unflinching commitment to duty, my determination to move forward despite all obstacles. Not that anything in the sky would be visible to my statue, placed as it is in a morose cluster of trees and shrubs beside the footpath running in front of Ardua Hall. We aunts must not be too presumptuous, even in stone. Clutching my left hand is a girl of 7 or 8, gazing up at me with trusting eyes. My right hand rests on the head of a woman crouched at my side, her hair veiled, her eyes upturned in an expression that could be read as either craven or grateful. One of our handmaids, and behind me is one of my pearl girls, ready to set out on her missionary work. Hanging from a belt around my waist is my taser. This weapon reminds me of my failings. Had I been more effective, I would not have needed such an implement. The persuasion in my voice would have been enough. As a group of statuary, it's not a great success. Too crowded. I would have preferred more emphasis on myself, but at least I look sane. It could well have been otherwise, as the elderly sculptress, a true believer since deceased, had a tendency to confer bulging eyes on her subjects as a sign of their pious fervor. Her bust of Aunt Helena looks rabid. That of Aunt Vidala is hyperthyroid, and that of Aunt Elizabeth appears ready to explode. So, yeah, some of the stuff that Aunt Lydia says in this, when I read it, to me, it just sounded like she was so, what is the word? Sanctimonious? Self-sanctimonious? Like, oh gosh, a bit of a narcissist, we'll say that. A bit of a narcissist. At the unveiling, the sculptress was nervous. Was her rendition of me sufficiently flattering? Did I approve of it? Would I be seen to approve? I toyed with the idea of frowning as the sheet came off, but thought better of it. I am not without compassion. Very lifelike, I said. Oh yeah, and when she said it could have been like, or when she said, but at least I look sane, it could have been otherwise. I was like, yeah, because she was definitely not always sane. She could be quite the fucking crazy woman. But anyway, crazy person. That was 9 years ago. Since then, my statue has weathered. Pigeons have decorated me. Moss has sprouted in my damper crevices. Votaries have taken to leaving offerings at my feet. eggs for fertility, oranges to suggest the fullness of pregnancy, croissants to reference the moon. I ignore the breadstuffs. Usually they have been rained on, but pocket the oranges. Oranges are so refreshing. I write these words in my private sanctum within the library of Ardua Hall, one of the few libraries remaining after the enthusiastic book burnings that have been going on across our land. The corrupt and blood-smeared fingerprints of the past must be wiped away to create a clean surface for the morally pure generation that is surely about to arrive. Such is the theory. But among these bloody fingerprints are those made by ourselves, and these can't be wiped away so easily. Over the years, I've buried a lot of bones. Now I'm inclined to dig them up again, if only for your edification, my unknown reader. If you are reading this manuscript, at least will have survived. Though perhaps I'm fantasizing. Perhaps I will never have a reader. Perhaps I'll only be talking to the wall in more ways than one. Talking to the wall. Ooh. That's enough inscribing for today. My hand hurts, my back aches, and my nightly cup of hot milk awaits me. I'll stash this screed into its hiding place, avoiding the surveillance cameras. I know where they are, I having placed them myself. Despite such precautions, I am aware of the risk I'm running. Writing can be dangerous. What betrayals, and then what denunciations might lie in store for me. There are several within Ardua Hall who would love to get their hands on these pages. Wait, I counsel them silently. It will get worse. It will get worse. Ooh. All right, so now we're getting ready to start on the next chapter, Precious Flower. And that sounds every bit as sickening sweet as it is. So let's just, I guess let's get on with it. Precious Flower. Now, the copy that I have is not great. No matter what I use to open it, it does not line up all the pages quite right. And I don't know what's up with that. Like on this one, I at least can get the front icons and images to load up completely. If I open it up in Google Books, it's like I'll get half a page and then it'll never even show the other half the page. It's very freaking weird. Very weird. Transcript of Witness Testimony 369A. So witnesses numbered and alphabetized so that you can kind of get an idea, not of who they are, but you can categorize them based on their number and letter, whatever, without giving them a full ID. Because from what I remember, they don't actually have full IDs on most of these. A lot of the writings that they find or recordings that they find have made up names. And in Gilead, they make up names for you anyway. So, yeah. You have asked me to tell you what it was like for me when I was growing up within Gilead. You say it will be helpful, and I do wish to be helpful. I imagine you expect nothing but horrors, but the reality is that many children were loved and cherished in Gilead as elsewhere, and many adults were kind, though fallible, in Gilead as in elsewhere. I hope you will remember, too, that we all have some nostalgia for whatever kindness we have known as children, however bizarre the conditions of that childhood may seem to others. I agree with you that Gilead ought to fade away. There is too much of wrong in it, too much that is false, and too much that is surely contrary to what God intended. But you must permit me some space to mourn the good that will be lost. At our school, pink was for spring and summer. Plum was for fall and winter. White was for special days, Sundays and celebrations. Arms covered, hair covered, skirts down to the knee before you were 5, and no more than 2 inches above the ankle after that. Because the urges of men were terrible things, and those urges needed to be curbed. The man eyes that were always roaming here, and they're like the eyes of tigers, those searchlight eyes, needed to be shielded from the alluring and indeed blinding power of us. Our shapely or skinny or fat legs, of our graceful or knobbly or sausage arms, of our peachy or blotchy skins, of our entwining curls of shining hair, or our coarse, unruly pelts, or our straw-like wispy braids. It did not matter. Whatever our shapes and features, we were snares and enticements, despite ourselves. We were the innocent and the blameless, causes that through our very nature could make men drunk with lust, so that they'd stagger and lurch and topple over the verge. The verge of what? We wondered. Was it like a cliff? And go plunging down in flames like snowballs made of burning sulfur, hurled by the angry hand of God? We were custodians of an invaluable treasure that existed unseen inside us. We were precious flowers that had to be kept safely inside glass houses, or else we would be ambushed and our petals would be torn off and our treasure would be stolen, and we would be ripped apart and trampled by the ravenous men who might lurk around any corner. Out there in the wide, sharp-edged, sin-ridden world. That was the kind of thing runny-nosed Aunt Vidalia would tell us at the school while we were doing petite point embroidery for handkerchiefs and footstools and framed pictures. Flowers in a vase, fruit in a bowl were the favored patterns. But Aunt Esthe, the teacher we liked the best, would say Aunt Vidalia was overdoing it, and there was no point in frightening us out of our wits, since to instill such an aversion might have a negative influence on the happiness of our future married lives. Oh my gosh. Whoops. Okay. All men are not like that, girls, she would say soothingly. The better kind have superior characters. Some of them have decent self-restraint, and once you are married, it will seem quite different to you, and not very fearsome at all. Not very fearsome at all. Not that she would know anything about it, since aunts were not married. They were not allowed to be. That was why they could have writing and books. We and your fathers and mothers will choose your husbands wisely for you when the time comes, Aunt Esthe would say. So you don't need to be afraid. Just learn your lessons and trust your elders to do what is best. and everything will unfold as it should. I will pray for it. But despite Aunt Este's dimples and friendly smile, it was Aunt Vidalia's version that prevailed. It turned up in my nightmares. The shattering of the glass house, then the rending and tearing, and the trampling of hooves. With pink and white and plum fragments of myself scattered over the ground. I dreaded the thought of growing older enough for a wedding. I had no faith in the wise choices of the aunts. I feared that I would end up married to a goat on fire. The pink, the white, and the plum dresses were the rule for special girls like us. Ordinary girls from econo families wore the same thing all the time. Those ugly multicolored stripes and gray cloaks. Like the clothes of their mothers. They did not even learn petite point embroidery or crochet work. Just plain sewing and making of paper flowers and other such chores. They were not pre-chosen to be married to the very best men, to the sons of Jacob and the other commanders or their sons. Not like us. Although they might get to be chosen once they were older, if they were pretty enough. Nobody said that. You were not supposed to preen yourself on your good looks. It was not modest. Or take any notice of the good looks of other people. Though we girls knew the truth, that it was better to be pretty than ugly. Even the aunts paid more attention to the pretty ones. But if you were already pre-chosen, pretty didn't matter so much. I didn't have a squint like Huldah, or a pinchy built-in frown like Shunammite. And I didn't have barely 3 eyebrows like Becca, but I was unfinished. I had a dough face, like the cookies my favorite Martha Zilla made for me as a treat, with raisin eyes and pumpkin seed teeth. But though I was not especially pretty, I was very, very chosen. Doubly chosen. Not only pre-chosen to marry a commander, but chosen in the first place by Tabitha, who was my mother. That is what Tabitha used to tell me. I went for a walk in the forest, she would say, and then I came to an enchanted castle, and there were a lot of little girls locked inside, and none of them had any mothers, and they were under the spell of the wicked witches. I had a magic ring that unlocked the castle, but I could only rescue one little girl. So I looked at them all very carefully, and then, out of the whole crowd, I chose you. What happened to the others, I would ask, the other little girls? Different mothers rescued them, she would say. Did they have magic rings too? Of course, my darling. In order to be a mother, you needed to have a magic ring. Where's the magic ring, I would ask. Where is it now? It's right here on my finger, she would say, indicating the third finger of her left hand. The heart finger, she said it was. But my ring had only one wish in it, and I used that one up on you. So now it's an ordinary, everyday mother ring. Three fingers on your left hand. At this point, I was allowed to try on the ring, which was gold, with 3 diamonds in it, a big one and a smaller one on either side. It did look as if it might have been magic once. Let me look at mine. So mine has the big diamond in the middle, but then it has like several smaller ones on each side that kind of curl around the big ring, the big diamond. But anyway, hold on a minute. Did you lift me up and carry me, I would ask, out of the forest? I knew the story off by heart, but I liked to hear it repeated. No, my dearest, you were already too big for that. If I had carried you, I would have coughed, and then the witches would have heard us. I could see this was true. She did cough quite a lot. So I took you by the hand, and we crept out of the castle so that the witches wouldn't hear us. We both said, shh, shh. Here she would hold her finger up to her lips, and I would hold my finger up and say, shh, delightedly. And then we had to run very, very fast through the forest to get away from the wicked witches, because one of them had seen us going out the door. We ran, and then we hid in a hollow tree. It was very dangerous. I did have a hazy memory of running through a forest with someone holding my hand. Had I hidden in a hollow tree? It seemed to me that I had hidden somewhere, so maybe it was true. And then what happened, I would ask. And then I brought you to this beautiful house. Aren't you happy here? You are so cherished by all of us. Aren't we both lucky that I chose you? I would be nestled close to her with her arm around me and my head against her thin body, through which I could feel her bumpy ribs. My ear would be pressed to her chest, and I could hear her heart hammering away inside her, faster and faster, it seemed to me, as she waited for me to say something. I knew my answer had power. I could make her smile or not. What could I say but yes and yes? Yes, I was happy. Yes, I was happy. Yes, I was lucky. Anyway, it was true. And okay, so that is all. I'm going to stop that. And so I made, this is technically the theme from, oh gosh, what was it called? I can't remember. It was some kind of health thing. And so if you look up at the top of that bonnet, in the white part of the bonnet, that is where the actual logo is for the original theme, and I just covered up the logo with the bonnet, that part of the logo. And I thought that this part of the logo actually went quite well with the Testaments stuff, because the whole fist up in the air and the justice symbol. And if you look at the image that is at the front of the book with the silhouette of the little girl, in it shows green, but really in the show they're in purple, and on the book they're in purple. And it has this little thing here, okay, that looks like a little girl, okay? But if you look at the, let me see, if you look at on the book, I think I have to open the book back up. Hold on just a sec. Trying to remember where it might be. Let's just go. I know there's going to be an image right here. So on the book, it has this image of a fist up in the air that is inside the pen. Oh yeah, and I also have it. Let's put it on my live stream, my live scene. Okay, on the live scene, it has the image of the picture with the fist in it. So I thought the fist rised up in the air, and the fact that this book is eventually going to get to that, like, justice, taking down Gilead. So I thought that went very well with the whole theme. So I left it on there so that you could see it. I think it's important. And let's take a look at. So this is the cover page for chapter 1, called The Statue, which is the statue of Aunt Lydia. And what does it say? Note the little fist, and it points to the fist. Can I read that? Let me open up the original image, because it will be bigger so I can read it if I can find it. I am not seeing it in here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it says, publishers wanted symbols. Oh, I cannot tell what that says. Symbols of each character. Oh God, I can't tell what that says. Symbols something. Symbols made. Can't tell. Something character, so reader would be absolutely able to tell them apart. Publisher wanted symbols of each character, so the reader would be absolutely able to tell them apart. Okay. So I'm assuming that they're saying that the image of the pen with the fist in it is the image for Aunt Lydia. That's interesting. Okay. Very, very interesting. And then the one for chapter 2, I think, was the girl that's on the cover, the silhouette of the girl that's on the cover. Let me see here. So that would need me to go back to the reading scene. All right, and go to no, I should have just kept going. Oh, here we go. The index on this is not great. The index basically gives you the beginning and ending things, but it doesn't give you the chapter points, so that sucks. So Precious Flower, and then it has the picture, the silhouette picture of the girl that's on the front cover. All right, so not next week, but Sunday, when I do the next however many chapters that I decide to read, I will go ahead and I think I'll try to make sure that I at least have an image from the beginning of the chapter, so we can discuss that a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and read whatever chapters that are on there. If there is something in mind in the chapters that I think I might want to highlight or something like that, I might get an image to represent that or something. I don't know. But since we don't have prior footage like I did with Handmaid's Tale, I'll probably mostly be sticking to the images that are in the book, or whatever I can pull off of the internet that I've found from trailers and advertisements and stuff like that. But anyway, oh yeah, let's go ahead. I'm gonna go to the is it the ending screen? Yeah. Okay, so I put my schedule up on the starting screen, and I have it up on the ending screen so that I can go over what I'm covering at the time. So right now we're doing the Testament live reads on Sundays and Tuesdays, except for when my schedule is messed up like it was this weekend. then I have to adjust it. But for the most part, Sundays and Tuesdays. I am doing a Deadlock season 2 after watch after I do each episode. I only do them one a week, which is on Sundays. I am doing Solo Leveling reactions, the anime called Solo Leveling, on Fridays. And I have 3 more episodes of Gen V season 2 that I need to get on here. And I will be putting those out on Fridays, once a week on Fridays. So for right now, that's about it. Like I said, the Testaments TV series is going to be coming out on the 8th of this month. Or is it tomorrow? Tomorrow is the 1st of April. So it's the 8th of April, a little bit more than a week from now. I will be doing reactions to it, but it takes me about a week to edit them, so expect that to start a week from the time that it comes out. And I think that's all I got for you for right now. So if you want to listen to more of the readings, I will be doing these, like I said, every Sunday and every Tuesday. I will post a message in my posts about what time to expect them. Usually on Tuesdays, I'll start around 2:30 or 3 p.m. Sometimes 2 if I'm like really ready to go, but not usually. So around 2:30 or 3 p.m. I usually will do the Tuesday ones. On Sundays, it's more likely that I'll do them around noon, unless I have way too much going on, then I might do them around 2. But for the most part, around noon, usually I do my Sunday live streams. And Deadlock is Sunday as well. Deadlocks will probably be anywhere from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. depending. A lot of times I do them at 6 p.m. because that way I can get a good walk in. I might be able to get some dinner. Might not. It depends, but it tends to work pretty well to have the Testaments readings around noonish, and then the Deadlock ones around either 3 p.m. or 6 p.m. So that's all I got for you. I'll see you when I see you. Bye.